Good morning, engineers. Welcome to Friday. This is a long block day, as you can see on our calendar. And that is good news because we need a little bit more time to work in our CAD program. So there were a couple of concerns. Actually, I thought the drawings looked great that you turned in. There are just a few more things to work on. Some of you were nearly done or almost all the way done, but there are a few pointers that I want to give you so that you can revise your drawings and get them turned in today. If someone is unable to get all the way through, look, I get it. I'm not there in person to help you. So don't stress out. Just turn in whatever you've got done. And then when I'm back early next week, we'll work on it together to make sure you've got all the details. So let's hop over to Schoology and I will show you what we've got on the calendar for today. Okay, so this is called a CAD drawing block 3D and 4 views turn-in. Many of you turned in work on the interim turn-in the last time we were here. That was very close or very good, but I need everybody, even if you turned in nearly complete work or complete work on the previous turn-in, to go ahead and turn it in again today here. So let's open this up. So I want you to continue and finish a 3D CAD of the wooden drawing block, export a PDF of the 3D drawing, and then export a 4 views PDF of that drawing, and turn both of those into Schoology. Okay. If you finish that, which is totally possible, what I want you to do is begin practicing doing some drawings, including revolutions, adding space, taking away space, and using work planes to create a more complicated object. What we're going to do early next week is have you bring in an object of your choosing, whether it's a charging block or something else that's interesting to you, a hand sanitizer bottle. You want some reasonably simple shapes. Let me recommend that it not be a game controller. Those are far too complicated. But something kind of in the middle. So a block of cards or a Rubik's Cube, those things don't count. It can't be a simple geometric shape. So those are your options if you're completely done. So I'm going to pop back over to Inventor. And so here is the block that you will end up with, and give you a tip on adding the circle. So if you have this drawing, which is completely flat, and I'm going to start a 2D sketch right on the right-hand face. I'm going to double-click the magnifier to bring it down to size. What I want to do is get that circle completely well positioned here in the left side footing. How do you do that, you say, Mrs. Vandermissen? We don't actually have a ruler in hand. Oh, but we do. So I'm going to pick my circle tool, and the circle tool that I want is I'm going to use a circle from the center point. So I know that my 1-inch circle is actually a 1/2 inch to the center point, so its radius is 1/2 inch. Then the other thing that I know already is that the circle is 1 inch in from left to right and 3/4 inch up from top to bottom. So I'm wanting to position the center of the circle 1.5 inches in from the left, and then 1.25 inches up from the bottom. Well, how do we do that? Well, conveniently for me, I started my block footing at the origin, so it's a 0, 0 point. But this will work no matter where you started this. When you hover and that connection point turns green, you'll also notice that there are X, Y, I can't circle it with my cursor because it moves, but there are an X, Y coordinate on there. So it's showing you that this hover green point is at the 0, 0. So what I want to do is move that cursor over 1.5 inches to the right, so that's 1.5 inches in the X direction, and then 1.25 inches up. So I'm going to hit the tab, and you can see it moved me into there. So I'm going to type in 1.5 inches in the X direction, and then I'm going to tab over, and then I want to move 1.25 up. When I hit enter, it's moved my cursor up there, and it said, oh, now we're going to build a circle around that. My circle's only 1 inch, so I'm going to type in 1 and hit enter, and look at that, I have a perfectly positioned circle. So I'm going to finish my sketch, and then I'm going to go ahead and extrude, but not add space. I'm going to click down one to take away space, and I am going to select through all. Okay, there's my block. It is good to go, and that circle is exactly positioned where we want it to be. Okay, so now I want to show you a tip on the 4 views. Several of you turned in drawings on the 4 views that didn't show a true front view or didn't have dimensions. So let's take a look at how to do that. So I'm going to go and save my block so that it is ready to be worked with. Then in my Model Explorer here, I'm going to go to the yellow cube at the very top of the part and right click. I'm going to create my drawing view, the standard IDW. Okay, and it's going to drop that first block. Notice that that very first position is the position that I last saw it on the 3D model screen. So I'm going to say cancel so we can notice that again. So I'm going to click over to my part, the wooden block part. Oh, we were working on the knead circle part. Okay, so this is the last view that I could see on my 3D drawing. And so when I said create drawing, standard IDW, it drops that last view right there. Okay, that's a great view for printing a 3D part and showing all its dimensions, but not such a great view for the front view. So here's how to fix that. You can use this navigation cube, which is just the same as the navigation cube over here on the 3D part. So I'm going to click on the faces. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to rotate this around until I have the exact front view that we used on our sketch. I would like to expand this in scale if I can, so let's see if I can get that to grow. That might be a little bit too tall, but we will try. Okay, so I'm going to hover up and click. I'm going to hover right and click. I'm going to hover down and click. Look at that. I have all 4 of my views exactly aligned like we had on the paper. I'm going to say OK, and it creates my views for me. Look at those nice hidden lines, just like we had marked on ours. Now the next thing I want to do is create dimensions. So I'm going to move to the Annotate tab. It's right here. I'm going to grab the Dimension tool, and then as I click, or as I hover, it turns red. And as I click and drag, it will allow me to move and add dimensions to the block. So if I click and drag, it will add dimensions for me, and then I say OK. So I can click and drag here. It'll give me this dimension. If I click and drag here, it'll give this dimension. If I click and drag here, so there are certain places where it does not want to naturally drop a dimension because it thinks it would be better suited somewhere else. So I'll just move around the block and create those dimensions elsewhere. Okay, I'm going to grab my circle, and it's going to tell me how far that center is from that side. That's not quite what I want to mark there, so I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to grab my circle here and drag across it. And I'm just going to continue adding dimensions until I have all the dimensions that we had at the beginning of our other block. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and File, Export, and create the PDF. No, I'm not done adding dimensions to this. I don't want to take any more of your class time. Go ahead and get your drawings repositioned, dimensioned, and turned in today. If they're not quite complete, that's okay. We'll work on them again when I am back. If you are complete, begin practicing with revolutions and work planes and adding and subtracting space with extrusion. Have a great day, and I will see you next week.